Welcome everybody. Welcome to what's October. It's Halloween month, and we are going to get started here shortly. We're just going to let everybody pile into the room here. We got a lot of attendees coming in. It's about 30 more seconds, and Allie and I will get started. Thanks. All right, let's go. Here we are. I think we had a lot of people in the room here. Awesome. So, hey, welcome everybody to the October 2024 edition here of the webinar. Allie is back this month. Allie, some exciting news this year, huh?
Yes, I got married, and so I am officially Allison Black rather than Allison Coldaway. So if you see that name change going forward, same person, different name.
Right. Well, congratulations, Allie, and taking it to the next slide here. We will have to switch out that name. There we are. Yeah. So next month we will switch the name out. But yeah, my name is Scott Ebeling. I'm Director of Pricing and Strategic Solutions here, and with me is Allie Coldaway, who's our Manager of the Pricing and Strategic Solutions team. And we've got some exciting stuff here today. Of course, we're going to go into market update about Box first, and then a little bit about our market update, and we're going to go into how to position yourself as a consultant. Really, really important stuff there. Very insightful stuff that we've worked on to discuss with you today. So with that, Allie, take it away. Let's go talk about Box.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. For those of you who may not work with Box yet, just saw the webinar on LinkedIn or on socials or anything like that, interested in energy brokering, or if you're familiar, but it's been a little bit since you've had a refresher, first thing we like to do on these webinars is just introduce ourselves. We are Broker Online Exchange, and we are your ultimate commercial energy brokering partner. Our purpose and our mission is to provide independent energy brokers and affiliates with access to all top electricity and natural gas suppliers, instant pricing, and cutting-edge software, all supported by industry experts. Box has become the largest network of energy agents, brokers, and consulting firms, or ABCs, in North America. We connect our variety of diverse energy partners so all of us can benefit from streamlined, efficient options in deregulated natural gas and electricity markets. You can see those markets and how you can scale your business with Broker Online Exchange below or on your screen now. You can see our service territory map. We've got natural gas only options available in green, natural gas and electricity options available in blue. And then you'll see a healthy amount of the Midwest and the West, and a little bit of the Southeast that's in a darker color with some stripes. Those are very limited natural gas markets. The lower 48 is deregulated whenever it comes to natural gas, but different states have different minimums. Usually these states are the ones where only very large commercial, industrial, manufacturing customers or customers who are using enough to take directly off a pipe may be in these areas. But we do have some resources. We do have a supplier network. We are able to consult on these opportunities. So if you have opportunities in these states, I know we actually just got an ask from a broker or from a new applicant the other day who said, "Hey, I want to do gas in I want to do gas in Texas. Can you give me an idea of what we're looking at?" And we've got some market overviews for you guys. We've got a lot of information. We're happy to set up some training, some tutorials if you do have customers in these areas. So happy to help if you guys have opportunity here. And happy to lend you all of our resources and to bring all of those to the table. You can see more of our resources, specifically our suppliers, on the next slide. You'll see a bunch of names that you recognize, like NRG and TXU and Direct Energy and NextEra, but you'll also see some other names that maybe you don't. We work with both tier one nationally serving suppliers who have their hands in wholesale generation and TDSP arms as well. But we also work with a healthy amount of smaller suppliers who are newer, nimbler, and can lend us their niche expertise to help us get deals across the finish line, whether that's with an inventive product or whether it's just being a little bit more flexible whenever it comes to some of the contract language. Depending on what you need, our focus is really finding the best supplier fit, the best product fit, the best billing fit for any given customer. So if you're wanting more options to present to your customer, whether that's from a supplier perspective, a product perspective, that's also something that we would love to help you with. One of the cool things about working with Broker Online Exchange is that we have a strategic solutions team that is led by Scott and myself, but we also have Trevor and Scott and our other analysts here who are available to help as well. Those guys, all of us are really, really excited to help with larger customers or with unique opportunities. And honestly, it seems most of the time with energy customers, when you really get into it, there may be more exceptions than rules when it comes to these larger customers. So it's really important to look at the customer on the whole, listen to them. We'll get into a lot of that as far as like positioning yourself as a consultant and ways to integrate some of these strategic solutions into your conversation. But the bottom line is we want you guys to know that we are here to provide a whole suite of services above and beyond our portal and above and beyond even all of the relationships that we have. We've got usage analytics and budget reporting. We will talk a lot about our contract analysis and negotiation phase of our process on a strategic solutions team. Our team, mainly our executive management, has worked with suppliers, has built supplier pricing models, has written supplier contracts. And so really our mission is to bring all of these solutions, all of that knowledge to the customer side of the table so that we can all sit there together and make sure that the customer comes out the other side of the transaction standing to benefit and understanding exactly what's going to happen during their next contract term, making sure that they really understand and are comfortable with the direction and that we're providing an ongoing level of service throughout their entire contract term. Regardless of whether that ongoing service turns into a sustainability and efficiency conversation, or whether it's something if we're just being a little bit more strategic with the timing on our transactions and we're taking a much longer view than the customer has in the past, those are items that we can, again, bring to the table and sit down with you, with the customer, and make sure that the customer is actually equipped to negotiate a contract with a supplier, because most of them are pretty complicated, and there's a lot of different ways, a lot of different gotchas, a lot of different things in contracts that are not bilateral. Like I said, we'll talk a little bit about that later, but we want you guys to know that we offer a full suite of services with no additional charge to you. Scott and I and our team are always happy to hop on a phone call and discuss an opportunity or do a little bit of strategy, just talk about it, think about it, and brainstorm with you. We're here to be a partner to you, so that's it. That's our mission. We're happy to help.
So it's a free service.
Yeah, and then I think we've got one more slide. So we'll go
the package.
Our bigger offerings, but Scott, you want to talk about Auction Box?
Yeah, certainly. I'll go into it right now. Yeah, so we talked about this last month. I just want to remind everybody, I'm not going to go into this too much detail, but we have the auction box, and it is working out really well. We've already had a couple successful auctions. In fact, we've had 3 that have basically, we've been told by the broker that we would not have gotten the deal if we didn't have auction box. So people are using this, and it's successful. We highly recommend it. We have scheduled a demo. We actually are going to be putting out a demo video here. Hopefully, I'm recording it today, actually, later on this afternoon. So hopefully by early next week, we'll have that. It'll just be a quick demo, a 4 or 5 minute demo, just talking about it real quick, but also going into the actual thing. And we can, then you can play it for your customer. We're keeping everything agnostic as far as the marketing goes, so it doesn't show Broker Online Exchange. If you want to be under your own brand, you can say, hey, we developed this internally. You can go ahead and do it. I don't care, just as long as we don't care. as long as, deal flow is happening and deals are getting done. That's what we really care about. We don't care if we're taking the props for developing the system. So like I said, we have the market materials that way. We're gonna have and the same thing's gonna be with the video, with the demo that you can play for your customer. So that's that there. And this is, again, I can't emphasize enough how big this is as far as helping you guys in your business. So with that, I am going to go right into the market update now, and Allie will be coming back here shortly. So first off, with the market update, let me get my screen adjusted so I can see it correctly. There we are. All right. So with the market update here, markets generally gas, not much movement. It seems like we moved a lot, but I think we had a little movement up and a movement down. And with that, we're back to the same levels. Power prices have moved out a little bit through PJM about in 26 and 27. And that's a little bit to do with some of the capacity concerns and new load coming online, and whether there's going to be reserve margins, and whether summer then will heat up and summer prices really get high and winter prices as well, and hitting up on the reserve margins. That is going to be, we'll see what happens. We have more to talk about that here in a second. But one thing markets really do right now is just waiting for cold temps. I mean, look at this. This is temperatures, the 10 to 15 day forecast here, taking us out through first week in November. And this is why the market has been selling off still this morning. Market's not going to move if this is 10 degrees above normal, as it's showing right here. And no sustained cold, but it is going to come. It's going to come eventually. This could turn here in the next couple of days, and the market will rise every year. When this first time this thing turns, the market does rise. So in that 10 to 15 day forecast. So I don't believe in predicting much after that 15 days, other than I know the market is sold off as well because of the mild winter that's forecast here in these population centers here in the East and Midwest. And I like to be more of a contrarian than that. I always have been as a trader. That really it's hard to predict it, so it might as well take the other side of that if the market gets really oversold, which we may be getting into that territory here shortly. But always a great opportunity to buy, at least put on hedges. ERCOT index prices, again, depressed. Last 12 months now, $26 here in ERCOT. And really the last 5 years is now, I think, around the 47 area. That's including a 1485 in Winter Storm Uri for a month. But yeah, last 12 months, $26, not any big spikes at all here, and really, excited to see what's going on in ERCOT grid as far as really taking charge and leading the nation and how to really properly, figure out their stuff and really kind of get proactive, especially when it comes to stuff like this. ERCOT battery storage here. Really about a 3, operating storage here now is about 4.5 megawatts larger. And this is one reason why we didn't see big price spikes this summer, despite we've had a really warm summer in Dallas, in Houston, and all over Texas. And this is going to continue to grow, as you can see here with the map shows, is really kind of where the battery storage is taking place. It's mostly taking place here on the West Coast and in the Texas market. And this is going to help suppress the prices, because a lot of the storage is being used as an arbitrage opportunity when they see the prices are going to come up really high today, really hot day. People are going to load up the battery in the off-peak hours, which are almost every day, near $10 or below, and then they'll sell at the higher prices. And as more and more of that comes on, more opportunity, the more of those prices get suppressed and get contained. And kind of excited with that, and one of the reasons why we're pretty neutral on ERCOT markets right now. PJM index, Similar thing, prices have been depressed here at 33.87 now for last 12 months. We had a little rise up there last month, and a lot of maintenance offline. October is one of those months that usually kind of has a little price up, but it's actually lower than last October. So, but yeah, last 12 months, 33.87, last 5 years, 39.67, and you can see, like, compare that to where the prices are at in the mid to upper 40s there. You know, that's going to be, let's go back and look at the prices here real quick. I just want to put this out here. Same with ERCOT as well. Whoopsie. Yeah, so ERCOT, going back to these prices here. Yeah, here's PJM, 44, 49, 51, right? And relatively speaking, this is, 11 bucks higher, 16 bucks higher, 18 bucks higher than that, really that 5-year average area. So, and ERCOT is, of course, way above the last 12 months. So that's kind of the stuff we're doing, and we got strategies to kind of take advantage of these situations. So, just get in touch with our desk here. We can help you out. Going on to PJM some more, and this is the capacity prices chart. We talked about this, and this shows a basically almost 9x movement in capacity prices here in the latest auction that took place in June. I'm sorry, end of July, the results were announced. But big news here is the auction update for 26-27, and auction is supposed to take place here in about 6 weeks. Well, that's has been delayed now. Looks like it's going to be delayed until June of 2025. And this is going to impact all 3 upcoming auctions that are scheduled to take place over the next really 13 months, because every one of those will be pushed out. And these auctions are pretty essential to ensure PJM has sufficient power supplies to meet future demands, because it sends a price signal. Typically, these are 3 years out, but constantly there's been some lawsuits and stuff. The latest one is over reliability must-run units and whether they should be included in the auction, and they were not, and there's groups that saying it should be, and so now there's these suits going on. So we highly recommend passing through capacity when contracting in PJM. We cannot emphasize that enough. We have marketing pieces on why that is, so you can give those to your customer. The basic reasons really are because it provides full transparency. If these prices do go down, there's no guarantee. How to audit and make sure that the prices get corrected. If they go higher, the prices will get adjusted by suppliers. So it's a it's a totally asymmetric bet by suppliers to bundle those into a contract, because what that means is there's no risk for them. They're going to take it, and there's potential reward, because if it goes lower, they may not adjust the capacity prices on the fixed price all-in contract. So we highly recommend putting that. And also, there's just ways to mitigate those costs as well with PLC management, and we'll be having that program next year. But with that as being said, we have arranged some products with some select suppliers that we can lock in the ceiling on the capacity costs. This is for customers with annual 5,000 annual megawatt hours of load. So really a large and medium-sized customer. And we have some products available that we can put a ceiling on those capacity costs. It's be a 5-year contract they have to do, and it doesn't necessarily mean they have to lock their energy price in for 5 years, but they will be contracting with any one of these vendors that we've worked with on this product. You will not see this from many other people, so but we have this ability that we've worked this out. So again, get in touch if you have any questions on that and want to get a hold of that. Moving on, and just now these charts here. Again, I want to give a shout out to one of our senior analysts, Trevor, for really working on putting these charts into a nice organized manner. Very helpful, and we're going to be putting these charts into be going up in our MSC, where you can pull these down. They'll be updated once a week on Fridays, and you can pull these down yourself if you want to produce into customer meetings. yeah, so it's really exciting stuff here, and we can also help. We work with you guys as well on proposals, and we'll put these in there as well if you need be. But going on with that, so natural gas storage here, we're basically a beeline here for really where we were in 2023, and we'll not be finishing on the 5-year highs. And so with that, we, kind of still healthy, still very healthy. I mean, it's a good level here, but, there's increasing LNG exports, higher natural gas usage, and power generation. All these things can really have an impact and turn this into, especially if we have even a potentially normal winter, we put us slightly below average, but a below a normal temperature winter could potentially push us into a more scary level of a below 5-year average or on the lows. It could quickly turn that way. So just want you to know the fundamentals are there for that. U.S. natural gas rig count, again, this has been declining. It was 160 about 15 months ago. But we kind of stagnated down these levels here all spring, winter. I think these are just kind of normal levels where a lot of producers are just kind of keeping in that status quo here. And this is what's really interesting is the flexibility that they're having now. And you see this in the production level. This is, again, it's held steady here. We've been in this 105. They have the ability, the producers now, which they built in, to really, they can ramp this up 5 BCF in a matter of a week or two. They can also bring it down 4 or 5 BCF. So one thing that has changed completely is that ability. They've gotten smart, they react to the markets quicker, and they've gotten much more proactive. So it's quite interesting to see that. So you won't, I think you'll still see price spikes. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's going to be stuff going on, but I think they're going to be a whole bit. I think it'll be short-lived, and will and this is going to get interesting. I do think that they one thing too is with that the price spikes, you also won't see as long of periods where the market's down, because once the market hits down to low levels, you'll see this, hit down to 97, 98. It can ramp it up 5 either way. And I think this 101, 102 is their level. I think that's going to get raised here as market fundamentals come in, but don't be fooled. They can quickly ramp this thing up to 106 if things, the market presents itself. Really the value, the price where they can really, the break-even price for, I think, the marginal producers right around 240, 250 area, a BCF. I think they want to make that, most producers want to make that 10 to 15% return on equity. So I really think they want to keep the market in that, 280 to 320 area. They'll take it higher, of course, but they don't last much longer to be underneath that. And briefly so, that's about where we're at for 2025 right now. This is a chart here that, if you want to get your customer to buy, this is this chart that should scare the bejesus out of them, because this is going to be happening. And by the end of next year, we should be hitting around that 19 level of BCF a day. We're currently at 13.6, 14 level. And you'll see this keep climbing. This is LNG that is already being, this is already stuff that's been approved and has been started construction or is almost completed construction. It isn't, I know right now there's a moratorium on new licenses, but these are ones that are being built. This is happening, and this almost will be doubling how much LNG is going to be exported over the following 3-4 years. So producers will have to keep up with this, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. And then just going into the chart of the month, I had this chart up here before. It's been a while, but I wanted to bring it back and just throw some stats at you in here. The black line there, that's where the next 12 months gas is 294. That's the strip. Like I said, producers are looking around that 280 to 320 level to really kind of keep prices around there to make money. So they're there. I don't think, but they're kind of near the lows of those kind of range. And what I want to point out though is at this 294 level, or 12-month strip. Spot prices have only been lower than that since 2000, 33% of the time. And it really hasn't been much lower than the $1.50. It has much higher, but on 36% of the days, the price exceeded $5. So it's, you know, we're at these kind of levels here. It just makes sense mathematically to have hedges in place. So I'll pass it back to Allie here now, and she's going to talk about how to position yourself as a market consultant. And again, just want to emphasize as well with the market updates, anytime you would like us to get in front of a customer, we can and discuss the market. And also anytime that you guys need some charts and stuff like that, and we're going to be on the C soon, but any kind of special charts, anything you were looking for, just let us know. We can potentially work on it for you. And then also just want to remind everybody, oftentimes we get asked, and I know people want to know where the market's going to go, and they want to know what regulatory change is going to take place with the capacity, if this is going to swing either way. And oftentimes we don't know. We can't really make a prediction. And just want to remind everybody what the job isn't necessarily to make predictions. And I think it's important to tell the customer this, to set expectations is really the job as a consultant, which we're going to go into in a second, is to not to make predictions in the market. It's to basically manage the risk appropriately. You're commodity risk managers, and that's your number one job for customers, and that's really the kind of how to present it versus trying to being predictors of the market. So as commodity risk managers, you're just finding the tools and using the tools to mitigate the potential risk of the volatility. And so now, Allie, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've said a bunch in the past. My crystal ball's broken, and if it worked, we'd be very rich. But no one can really know where the market is going. But the fact that we have these resources, the fact that we have this intelligence, all of the things and all of the education and the context, the market context that Scott just shared is really valuable information to share with your customers. It's really important to be proactive with any of the changes that are coming as soon as we know that, hey, capacity prices are going up, or we just got a really bad weather forecast and here's what's going to happen. Or like he was talking about, those LNG charts, probably information that 90% of customers have no idea, and they don't know to look. So really bringing all of that information to your customers is a very valuable service, and helping them to navigate changes in the market and to educate them about the changes, what's happening, when it's happening, how it's going to affect them, are all things that are really, really valuable that you can provide to your customer above and beyond, next pricing options for their term. So without further ado, we're going to go into how to position yourself as an energy consultant. The first thing we want to do is delineate between an energy consultant and an energy broker. Aggregators, brokers, and consultants, or ABCs in our industry, are often used as pretty interchangeable terms. And the reality is that they're not. Aggregators generally are individuals or companies that are looking at a lot of different customers, whether that's taking all of the residential customers in a particular city and putting them all together, or whether it's aggregating all of the government buildings in a particular area or for the city. Those types of things are aggregations. Those they have a lot of moving parts, and we can certainly help with aggregations, but that isn't all we do. All of our RFP management and execution, that's part of our strategic suite of services, as well as the reverse auction, can really help customers who could also benefit from aggregations. So like I said, we do that, but it's only a part of our service offering. There's a whole bunch more. Brokers in general the term broker has been used as really a catch-all for all of us third parties in the market who are helping our customers navigate all of the deregulated markets, navigate through their supplier options, their product options, their billing issues, their shutoffs and turn-ons, new locations or locations that may be undergoing some change. Brokers are really looking at what is the customer paying, what can I offer them? most of the time, brokers are the point of being a broker, and the value that you bring to your customer is that your customer doesn't have to shop. You know suppliers, you know you have some options in that market, and you're able to collect all of those options and present them so that your customer doesn't have to reach out to 20 different companies in order to see the best fixed price that they can get. And while that is a very valuable service, there's a lot more that we can do with all of the resources that we have available to us. Oftentimes the broker-customer relationship becomes a little bit more transactional rather than consultative. And so that's why we wanted to talk about this today, is really making the difference between a consultant and a broker. Consultants, I think, take a step back, and we encourage you guys to offer all of these services that you can see on your screen, in addition to the competitive bidding process, making sure everything is apples to apples from all of the suppliers, making sure that the customer understands, how that rate is going to look on the contract, if it includes taxes or any of those types of things, and making sure that your customer gets the best, lowest fixed price available to them. There is so much more that we can do, and there are a lot of other ways that we can help. And these other ways, if you look at all of the pieces that we have here, reviewing business needs and future goals, strategic development and execution, that's looking at the customer's product. Is a fixed product really best for them? Do they have a little bit more backbone? Might they be interested in something that's an index product? Or is there a layered strategy or a seasonal strategy that we could perhaps employ that might benefit them more and yield a lower cost throughout the contract term? Those types of things, working with the customer hand in hand, rather than just showing them pricing and say, this is the one that we recommend because it's the lowest. Looking at their business overall and really making a recommendation as to how they can best manage their costs. We also help optimize that price, optimize that product, and negotiate the contract terms in the customer's favor so that the customer gets a fair shake. Oftentimes, as we all know, contracts are written to the benefit of the writer, and really you're writing a contract in case something goes wrong, right? Well, if something goes wrong and the only benefits are slanted toward the energy supplier, that's not a great contract for your customer, or it may not be. There's a lot of other language that in these contracts that can be ambiguous, that can allow suppliers to, for example, pass through positive adjustments in costs to the customer, but allows them to basically keep the change if costs actually do come in below. They don't have to pass that through. So things like that are what we're looking at. We're also really specifically focusing on component treatments and things like that, especially with all of the changes that we've had in our market, whether that's capacity or whether it's different reliability pieces or all of the brand new components that we've had in ERCOT over the past couple years. We're taking it and we're looking at it. So we're making a recommendation not only when it comes to the customer's energy and how they're purchasing their actual energy, their electrons, and hedging themselves against that very volatile market and commodity, but we're also looking at the other components and looking at the customer's needs, looking at the available treatments that are out there, looking at different products from different suppliers that could maybe benefit a little bit more, and making sure that the customer at the end of the day understands what it is that they're signing as well. We can also offer solutions above and beyond just your bread and butter, your deregulated energy, natural gas, and electricity contracts. And that's something that we can help you do as a consultant as well. Offering those usage analytics and budgeting tools, benchmarking tools, renewable and sustainability solutions, talking to a customer about if they have ESG goals, if they want to integrate RECs, if they're interested in a PPA, a VPPA, if they're interested in solar. Customers want to talk about solar, but oftentimes they may not totally understand all of the math and the models that go into the numbers that they see. But we want to talk about it. And again, we want to bring all of our expertise and sit on the customer side of the table with you. And we want you guys to know that you're able to offer all of this to your customers as well. This is really what we give you the ability to do by partnering with us at Box, is go this much deeper into the conversation with your customer and really take a look at what how they are currently managing their energy costs and make recommendations as far as how they can possibly improve, and give them more context around those recommendations so that the customer understands them a little bit better and understands the space that they're transacting in. Suppliers, of course, also have direct sales arms, and they may be able to provide some of these things, but we can really provide it all. And through your partnership with Box, so can you. So if there are pieces here that you haven't offered a customer, that you haven't talked about, if you haven't actually, it's really great to start your conversations with one of these things that is not the competitive bidding process. Talk to your customers about their goals. Talk with them about a renewable strategy. Talk to them about something other than price, because there's so much more here that we can do. And really getting down to it, if we're utilizing all of these tools, if we're really developing a strategy for the customer, if we're optimizing the price and negotiating the contract, if we are helping them to purchase strategically and to better time those transactions whenever they happen, all of those pieces influence the actual number on the customer's bill that they end up paying way more than just looking at the lowest fixed price on any given day. You can create a much, much stickier customer, a much more loyal customer, and deliver them so much more value by bringing all of these services with you rather than just pricing. Scott, is there anything you want to speak to on this, or we want to go on?
No, you've pretty much nailed it all. I think it's just emphasizing that this is all, we're going to talk about the team and presenting as a team. These are all services that we are somewhat experts at, have deep knowledge about here, and we're here to back you up. Again, it's free. Second time, these are all just part of the service. We're not going to take any larger percentage of the deal from you, charge anything extra. This is all just part of the services that we offer here at Box. Let's talk about the consultant mindset now.
Yeah, absolutely. So great ways to position yourself as a consultant is really to just get into the mindset that we're a problem solver, that we're a partner with the customer, and that we're going to help them through this regardless of what the price looks like at the end of the day. It's really not even about price. It's about helping your customer understand a strategy that can deliver a more predictable, controlled cost for them as best we can. So really what we're selling here is we're selling them a strategy. We're not selling savings. Anybody, I think, in this market knows it's really difficult to sell on savings when utility PTCs change all the time and fixed rates are forward-looking rather than we're running on a lag like utilities do. So very difficult to sell on savings, and we're also in a market where customers are a little bit savvier. We haven't had a newly deregulated market in a while. Even out in Lubbock, where they recently deregulated, most Texas customers are familiar with deregulation. They know that they have to shop for their electricity, and they know the difference between supply and delivery, those types of things. So really what we're able to do is educate them a little bit more, not just about what deregulation is and what it means, but about the different products that are available to them and about how having a strategy in place. The disciplined hedge strategy is our favorite, but not the only one. But having a strategy in place can really, really help you. And agreeing on that both at the customer level with all of them and their executive management and with us as their consultant or with you as their consultant can really, really help them to control that cost. A great way to make sure that you're positioning yourself and being more consultative than transactional is to ask questions and listen. Every single energy customer has a problem. You can find it. Sometimes those problems are billing. Sometimes it's cost. Sometimes it's I don't want to talk about this ever. This is the lowest item on my to-do list, and I really just don't want to deal with it. And please take care of it. But we're problem solvers in search of a problem. So find the problem, regardless of what it is, regardless of how the customer is transacting on their energy or how they're managing it. Very often there is a lot of room for improvement. So ask a lot of questions and really listen to the customer, listen to their pain points, listen to listen to what happens in their conversations internally, listen to their goals, listen to where they're getting pressure and who the stakeholders might be. The more you listen to your customer, the stronger a relationship you'll have in general. And oftentimes, if you're asking good questions to the customer, they will tell you exactly what they're looking for, which will, at the end of the day, make it a much better conversation whenever we're delivering a strategy and pricing, because we're going to check all of those boxes, or as many as possible. Another piece, and we'll go into this a little bit in terms of our recommended timeline, is strategy alignment before pricing. If the customer is out there looking for a fixed all-in price that will not move regardless of regulatory changes for the next 5 years, and you're delivering something that is a fixed adaptable or an energy only cost, that's not checking the boxes. But it is also the case that there may be products out there that customers are unaware of. So the first couple meetings, the first times that we talk with customers, we're really talking about education. We're educating them on their options. We're talking to them about, here are all of the different products, and here's the ways that, here are the different implications for you down the road. We want to make sure that, if we are going in with a fixed all-in price, that is actually the best product for that customer, or it's the product that the customer wants, but maybe we show them that and something else. But we want to make sure that we nail down a strategy before we're looking at pricing. We want to make sure that we're pricing the correct amount of accounts, the correct start date. We want to know, if we're doing a layered hedge, really how long are they, are they doing 5 years? Are they doing longer? Or do they want to go longer? And making sure that they understand what strategy we're pricing to better understand how that product will perform is very important. And getting alignment on that strategy with the customer, making sure that they understand what we're pricing and what that product is going to look like, is very important to get on the same page. A great way to be a consultant, to be a good one, is to provide something of value for free. An example is contracts, and example for a contract versus a billing audit. So just providing your customer with a contract is definitely part of the consultant's job, setting them up with a contract that's good, but looping back after the customer actually gets their first bill and auditing that bill against the contract to make sure that the correct product is being billed and that there's no billing issues. Whether that's utility information or whether it's supplier bill, also something that is very valuable for the customer, but we see few and far between. Oftentimes brokers have a more transactional relationship, and it's really close the contract and I'm on my way to the next. Your customer will have a much better experience, and keep in mind that even if you sign that customer once, they're going to need electricity for as long as they're in business. So you can recapitalize on that customer by making them sticky, by continuing to renew them, by continuing to strengthen that relationship through these types of services. And these are also things that you can use to get into the conversation. It's a great move to talk to a customer and say, well, look, I see your bill, and it looks really good, but I'd really like to take a look at your contract and make sure that you're being billed, accurately. Or let's take a look at your contract and make sure you're being billed appropriately. And if you're not, then that may be something that I'm able to help with too. A good thing to do as a consultant is to follow a process, which is really more proactive and more disciplined rather than reactionary. For example, prices should be providing in the third meeting at the earliest. And we'll talk a little bit about the meeting cadence and our recommended schedule a little bit next. But following that process and making sure that you're providing good information to your customer, but when we are getting into pricing together, that we're on the same page as far as what we're pricing. Following your process will help your customer to take your lead. It will help them to see you as the expert in this space, because you're telling them the way that suppliers operate. You're telling them the way that the market works, and you're able to position yourself as that energy expert that says, look, here's what we're going to do. Here's the next steps, and I'm going to be with you every step of the way. Having more than one person in the first meeting, every person you add increases your chance of eventually closing the deal. But having more than one person in the first meeting also really helps the consultative perspective, just because you're able to bring more areas of expertise, you're able to bring different communication styles, you're different to bring a different type of chemistry into the room. And you're able to and you're also, as part of, as one of our partners, if you're bringing us in with you, your company looks that much bigger, that much more experienced, and we're happy to participate. Having more than one person in that first meeting, I think, increases, I know at some point we looked at the statistics, but it increases your odds of getting the deal done by, I think it was 270%. And it's a great move to bring more people into the conversation, both on the customer side, invite them to have more stakeholders, invite them to have more people so that we can, so that you can get more and better information. You can see how they react with all of their internal people, and so that you can speak to more of what you can do. Having more than one person and really representing as a team rather than an individual. And taking that team approach and that team mindset is really important when you're a consultant. And of course, in every meeting, you want to establish next steps and follow up with your summary. You want to stay on top of your follow-ups, stay on top of your cadence. Again, be proactive with this process and disciplined with this process rather than reactionary. And Scott, I know you want to talk about the team approach.
I just want to say, yeah, exactly. The stats of that are, we ran these stats and we keep them on going here, is if we see this in the deals that come through here, and we're talking about deals over 5,000 megawatt hours. When 36% of these deals have closed when we're not on the call, and it's at 83% when we're brought into a client call. So to me, that's a phenomenal statistic, especially when something's for free. And why not just, bring the people on? We can play any role you want. Just to let you know on that. So, and also before you go to the next one too, the summary of every meeting. This is something I think is so key and important, is to really get that out within 24 hours, preferably the same day. And just kind of summarize the meeting and summarize what the next steps are, and let them know when you'll be delivering yours. And if you're going to say I'm going to deliver it by Friday in a business day, and it gets to be 4 o'clock on Friday, and it doesn't look like it's going to be able to be delivered, that's probably Monday. Communicate that. I can't emphasize enough how much communication is so important, and it builds trust. Even if it's okay if you're running late on something that you promised to get to them, but if you communicate it to them, before the fact that it was due, that hey, this is going to be an extra day, we're waiting on this. I emphasize this to our pricing team, so there's Allie a lot, just to really kind of set the expectations right. And then if you're not able to meet them, to really communicate as early as possible once you know it's not going to be happening. Everything's about building trust, and that's communication is a great way to build trust. Good communication. But we'll go to the next slide here, and this is one here on the process. There you go. Go ahead, Allie.
All right, so consultant sales process. We advise having 3 meetings to introduce yourself to a customer. Rather than coming in and presenting pricing right away, we recommend that the first meeting is really just a discovery meeting. It's an intro meeting for your group and for the customer to just get to know each other. Ask insightful questions to uncover potential challenges or identify the concerns that we're uniquely positioned to address. The goal is that they provide data after the meeting and hopefully an LOE so that we can perform our analysis. But it's really important to listen to the customer, and hopefully they're willing to have that conversation and be transparent and give you some feedback. But really, that discovery meeting, it's an intro meeting. It's just, let's get to know each other. Let's talk a little bit about energy. Let's talk about how you guys have handled this in the past. Let's let's look at how many locations you have and how many accounts. Let's look at how often you guys are purchasing groups of new accounts, if that's something that's applicable, or selling off groups of accounts. Let's look at who the stakeholders are in that conversation, and let's maybe review a couple, maybe review ways that they have purchased in the past or different things they've tried. Have they worked with a broker or an energy consultant before? And what was that experience like? Did they like it? Are they still working with them? All of those questions are good questions that will help your customer give you good feedback so that you can present to them a good solution. But that said, in the first meeting, it's important not to provide any solutions. Really, our goal is to listen to the customer. So hopefully we understand what their goals are and what their aims are with this process, and to have tell them and hopefully receive as much information as possible, whether that's billing and invoices, contracts, some letters of authorization or representation or exclusivity, whatever it is that we need so that we can perform our analysis. And oftentimes we can perform that analysis without any supplier communication. That's something that, as long as we have all of the documentation, we have the information, we can perform that analysis without sending for pricing, without making any moves for the customer. But really the goal is to give them, kind of an overview of where they're at in the second meeting, and to start talking a little bit about different strategies that you think could potentially help them. So meeting number 2 is your strategy presentation. You present your analysis and your strategic recommendations with the goal of getting their commitment to the strategy by the end of the meeting. If the customer has always been on a full pass-through product and you're pitching them something new, whether that's a hedged product, whether that's a fully fixed product or a layered hedge, you want to have their buy-in to that strategy. You want to make sure that they understand how that strategy and that product is different and why those differences could benefit them. If there are also any risks involved with the strategy, of course you want to talk your customer through that as well. But in general, the strategies that we're recommending are to help your customers manage that risk. Again, not to provide savings, but to manage their risk and to get them to a place where they're comfortable paying their bill and they understand why they're paying as much as they're, how much they're paying. It is also important to not provide executable pricing, but to provide estimates. Oftentimes during the second meeting, we provide a really good overview, a thorough overview of what where we think the customer is. We identify areas where we think we could improve, and we can give them a range of the impact that that improvement could potentially have moving forward, should they choose to allow us to deliver it. But really talking them through, this is what we see. These are the areas of opportunity that we've identified. This is the strategy that we think will be the most effective in terms of managing your risk and meeting your goals. Mr. Customer, what do you think? Again, you want to be with your customer the whole step of the way. If they say, you know what, this is all really cool, but I think I want to stick with what I'm doing, that's totally fine. But this is a great opportunity to get their buy-in, to get their commitment, to help educate them really truly about things they might not know about their own business. It's a great meeting and a great way to really solidify your relationship and to start having conversations about ways to move forward together. In the third meeting, this is when we go through pricing. We now hopefully have a bunch of customer data that we have examined, and so we understand the way the customer is purchasing, has purchased. We know what their operation looks like. We know how much they're using. We know where they're located. We know if there are any plans, to wind down or to ramp up or expand or do anything like that in the future. So we have a really good understanding of who this customer is, how they're using energy, and what their goals are. We've also talked with the customer about our recommended strategy for how to manage that cost and help them moving forward. So now at this point, we price the strategy that we have agreed upon and come back to the table with the best supplier option. And again, as we've talked about with contract language, the best supplier option or the best contract may not be the absolute lowest price. It may be the contract that allows the customer the most bilateral benefit. It may be the contract that allows the customer, flexibility to transact in the future. It may be a contract, that stipulates other specifics that are very important, to them. But holding off on delivering your pricing and saying, okay, here's our options, is often really beneficial to make sure that whenever you are providing pricing, you're providing something that your customer understands and that your customer values, that they actually say, oh, okay, this is what we talked about, this is what we agreed upon, and now I know what I'm looking at. Going into a meeting with pricing too early can really, unfortunately, can get you tossed out of the room, or you can lose your seat at the table if you go in too quickly with pricing. And it's a real shame whenever that happens with consultants, when maybe the consultant is providing the best contract, the best pricing, the best supplier, but because they showed pricing in their first meeting, and because the pricing looked a little bit higher than maybe some of the promotional rates that the customer has seen online, they're not going to talk to that consultant again. And it's a real shame, because again, we have a lot of resources, and having those conversations in advance and understanding the customer a little bit better, understanding their goals, is really important. If you're not considering your customer's goals, and if you're just going in with pricing and trying to sell them a price, that's going to be a more difficult conversation. Just in my experience. Scott, do you have some stuff you want to add on our meeting cadence here?
Yeah, and I think one thing I want to emphasize as well, first of all, this process and being a consultant, it's if you're just closing a family restaurant down the street, it may not be as necessary. It's really kind of it's more involved, but this is how big customers want to be treated. I'm talking big. I'm talking 2-3 million kilowatt hours a year and above. They want to be treated like this. They want to be like, look, I got an advisor. I got someone who's actually looking out for me. And with that, one of the biggest ways that I think, and I've seen most successful to create doubt, is just letting customers know, and to be able to get the LOE on it, is let them know, like, there's a lot of differences here between contracts, and just because something's a lower price does not necessarily mean it's a good deal. There's a lot of these contracts have a lot of hidden stuff in them. I know that personally because I've written some of these contracts at a supplier, and I made sure those things were in there for us as a supplier, because I was looking out for me and my company as a supplier. And now we're looking out for you. And that's a good way of really kind of putting out there, is you're working for the customer here. And with that, when you're working for the customer, to show up at the first meeting with, don't even ask for a bill copy before you walk in the door. Have that be part of that discovery during that meeting. If you show up in the first meeting with pricing, guess what? The customer has exactly what they wanted in the end, and that's a price. And he's gonna be like, oh, okay, yeah, what times? Okay, price. Okay, yeah, I'm paying 40 right now dollars a megawatt hour, and you're showing me a price of 55. Like, I'm gonna keep looking. You're not providing. He's gonna once you show him pricing, he's gonna stop listening to you and stop. And I'm not saying that happens all the time, but generally that's how it works. So I think you just follow these like a process, and it's yes, some of this is optics. You pretty much know the answer maybe a lot of times right in that first meeting, but it's just part of the optics. I'm analyzing it, I'm looking at it, I'm going through with it. We can help in each one of these steps with you along the way. We're here to help you. So I think that is all. We may have some questions here. Let's see. Can you give an example of somebody's pitfalls with suppliers or terms that may benefit them more? All right. Ellie, you want to take that?
Sure, yeah.
So I'm going to take. Yeah, you take this one.
So some of the things that we've looked at. Actually, one that comes to mind immediately is actually the way that ETF language is calculated, making sure that the supplier has good ETF language that trues up against the market and doesn't just say, okay, you have to pay us back for all of those kilowatt hours. That's something that, suppliers can do in their contracts. They can say, okay, you canceled, you owe us, 8.6 a kilowatt hour times all of your, all of your remaining consumption that you're taking somewhere else. But the reality is that supplier is going to go back and sell that energy into the market, and they're only going to pay the difference. They're not going to pay the full boat. They're going to go back and sell that capacity into the market or repurpose it, and they're going to pay the difference. They're not going to pay the full boat. And so pieces like that, where the supplier keeps the change, are really what we're looking for here. Another example is with product treatments, specifically around capacity and transmission. We've been having this conversation on PJM, given all of the changes, but oftentimes with fixed contracts are fixed unless there's a change in law or unless there's a cost that is not forecasted and the customer is more expensive than the supplier forecasted. And in those cases, the supplier will pass through those increases to the customer. If, however, the customer maybe does some peak load shaving or something like that, or maybe they install new equipment and their load factor evens out all of a sudden, and all of a sudden that customer is much less expensive for the supplier to serve. The supplier is going to keep serving them at that fixed rate, which technically for the customer is not to their benefit. At that point, the customer could either renegotiate their contract or at a minimum should stand to see a pass-through that is a credit to them rather than just passing through an increased cost as a debit. So those are a couple examples of just different things that we check in the contract language. Scott, are there any more like very common ones that we look for? Because I know those two.
Yeah, I remember it's just like grossing up losses or not on a fixed all-in, and how the losses are treated or not, and that's one that's oftentimes a thing. What's included and what's not included, whether there's bilateral adjustments. We've arranged that in a few contracts. So there's multiple things, and this is why it gets here. And we've seen a lot of need pool. There's certain things that aren't included, and they are in others, and these things can be $10 a megawatt hour. Yeah, and so that's about it. I know we're over time here. Wow.
But we do have one more really good question that I want to address just before we hop off here. And it's, how do you address the question on how we're paid as a consultant? And that is a little bit different. I wanted to hop on it because I was actually just having this conversation this morning. And the answer is that's up to the customer. There's a couple different ways that you can get paid as a consultant. I mean, and number one, and the most common way that we answer is still, I think, that consistent with most, we get paid by the energy supplier. Our fee is wrapped into the per kilowatt hour cost. We get paid by the energy supplier. Oftentimes we're happy to say that we'll be, transparent about what that fee is if the customer is really interested, so that they know and they can understand, what they're paying for the value. I don't think we have had to disclose more often. Like they want to know how, but then it's like, oh, okay.
Generally, we like to say, yeah, there's a marketing fee. Suppliers have a marketing fee, and if you go directly to them, they're going to be paying that marketing fee to a salesperson. If you go through, there's a marketing fee, and it's a pretty standard marketing fee. This is their answer. That's a pretty standard marketing fee throughout the industry, and it's generally non-negotiable. So,
right. But that said, if you're interested in working with a customer and they don't want there to be a wrapped-in fee, or they would prefer to pay you directly, that is another option, specifically under the consultative model. Just because if you're and this happens all the time, if you're consulting, they're going to pay you a per hour fee or a per month fee, or something like that. Because again, the services that we're providing are not necessarily all wrapped up into that one transaction, the way that the price is or way that a marketing fee is. If you would like to, talk to your customer and say, well, actually, I would do this for, I would do this for you, and here's all the things I would do, and I do it for this price, and here's how we would do, here's how we would do the billing. You can do that too. There's no rule that says that, only the supplier can pass it back to us. It's just that oftentimes that is the cleanest process, and definitely the simplest from the customer's side, because it means they're not, negotiating and paying another invoice. So, but there's options there. So
awesome.
I think that's
true. All right. Thanks everybody for joining us again. And sorry, some issues with my mouse here. Here we are. Just remind everybody, we're here to serve you. We're here to help you. I think we have the same exact goal, and that is to help customers and help customer and close deals. And so we are here all throughout the process for you. So just get a hold of us. Have a great month. We'll be talking next month, probably just before Thanksgiving. We may or may not have know who the president is. I know it's a close election, but we might be targeting having a call just talking about kind of what we expect from whatever administration wins. And it's not going to be a political call. It's just going to be kind of where generally the consensus is, or kind of what we think kind of the policies are and how it's going to impact markets. That's kind of what we're retargeting for our next call. But then we may change it because we don't know who the president is, and we can't necessarily get into it too much then. But that's going to be our target for next call. Hopefully you guys can join us. We'll be sending information out that here later this week. Have a great next month. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.